Wake up! Stay with me! Please, stay with me!
Fading. His maid, Rosa, the woman who'd worked in his house for 2 years, collapsed on his property like someone had thrown her away. He ran, dropped to his knees in the mud and rain, and when he lifted her, she weighed almost nothing, like she hadn't eaten in days. Maybe longer. Her eyes open, just barely, and the look in them broke something inside him. "Mr. Sterling," she whispered through cracked, colorless lips. "I only wanted to do my job well." Her whole body was trembling, from cold, from hunger, from something worse. "They said being good at my work meant I was trying to steal you." A tear slid down her face, mixing with the rain. "They took everything from me." Alexander's blood went cold. Who did this to you? But he already knew. Deep down, he already knew. Rosa's eyes closed again, and Alexander lifted her into his arms, running for his car. His hands were shaking, his heart was pounding, because the answer to that question was waiting inside his house, in his own home, the people he trusted most, the people he loved, and what he was about to discover would ruin him completely. If your heart just dropped, you're not alone. Hit that like button because this story is about to take you somewhere you won't believe. Subscribe right now. You need to know what Alexander found when he walked through that door. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Rosa's knees slammed into the marble floor for the 5th time that morning. "Again," Margaret said, standing over her with arms crossed. "I still see streaks." There were no streaks. The floor gleamed like glass. Rosa had been scrubbing the same 10-foot section for 3 hours. Her hands were raw and bleeding. Her back screamed with every movement. But she couldn't stop, because 2 months ago, she'd learned what happened when you said no to Margaret Hayes. "You lost everything." "Please, Mrs. Hayes." Rosa's voice cracked. "I've cleaned this section 5 times. My shift ended 2 hours ago." "Are you talking back to me?" Rosa's stomach dropped. "No, ma'am, because it sounds like you're refusing to do your job." Margaret's smile was ice. "And we both know what happens to maids who refuse to work." Rosa looked down at her bleeding hands and felt tears burn behind her eyes. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Her mother needed medicine. Her siblings needed school fees. This job was everything. So she dipped her brush back in the bucket and started scrubbing the spotless floor again. Margaret watched for another moment, then walked away, her heels clicking against the marble Rosa had cleaned to perfection hours ago. This was Rosa's life now, but it hadn't always been like this. 2 years ago, Rosa Martinez had walked through the Sterling Mansion's front door with hope in her chest and a promise to her mother ringing in her ears. "Work hard, Mija. Keep your head down. Send money when you can." Rosa had clutched those words like a lifeline. She'd learned English from YouTube videos on a borrowed phone, learned American cooking from library books, learned to press dress shirts from tutorials she watched at 2 in the morning when sleep wouldn't come. She did all of this because she'd made a promise, and Rosa didn't break promises. The Sterling Mansion wasn't just a house. It was 20 rooms of marble and crystal and furniture worth more than her entire village made in a year. When she first started, Rosa had been terrified to touch anything, terrified she'd break something she could never replace. But she learned fast. Memorized how Catherine Sterling liked her coffee, 2 sugars, cream on the side, exactly 7:15 a.m. How Alexander Sterling organized his desk contracts left, correspondence right, urgent matters in the red folder. How their daughter Emma only ate vegetables cut into shapes. Rosa didn't do these things to be noticed. She did them because that's what good work looked like. If you're going to clean a floor, make it shine, her mother had taught her. Don't do half work, Rosa. Half work is the same as no work. So Rosa never did half work. She woke at 5 every morning, had Alexander's coffee ready before his alarm, Catherine's breakfast prepared exactly right, kept the house so clean you could eat off any surface. For the first year, everything was perfect. The other staff were kind. Maria taught her window cleaning shortcuts. James showed her which floorboards creaked. Carlos joked that she made everyone else look bad, but he smiled when he said it. Rosa sent money home every month. Her mother could afford medicine. Her brother stayed in school. Her sister got the quinceañera dress she dreamed about. "You're doing so well, Mija," her mother said during their Sunday calls. "I'm so proud." Rosa was proud too. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving, she was building something. Then Margaret arrived. Catherine's mother moved in on a Tuesday in late April. Rosa was cleaning the guest room when the older woman first walked in. "You must be the help," Margaret said. "Not unkind, just stating fact." "Yes, ma'am. I'm Rosa, the housekeeper. If you need anything, I'll let you know." Margaret's eyes swept over Rosa like she was taking inventory. The worn shoes Rosa had resoled 3 times. The uniform that was clean but fading. The calluses on Rosa's hands from years of hard work. Rosa felt measured, judged, found wanting somehow. That first week seemed normal. Margaret kept to herself. Rosa continued her work. But Rosa started noticing things. Margaret would appear in doorways, silent, watching. Rosa would be organizing Alexander's office and look up to find Margaret standing there, arms crossed. "Can I help you with something, Mrs. Hayes?" "Just observing. Don't mind me." But it felt like more than observing. It felt like surveillance. Then came the morning that changed everything. Rosa was bringing Alexander his coffee. He was stressed about some business deal. On the phone, papers scattered everywhere. Rosa set the coffee down quietly and turned to leave. "Wait, Rosa." Alexander covered the phone. "Did you organize those contracts?" "Yes, sir." "By date, like you prefer." "You're a lifesaver. I would have missed the filing deadline." He went back to his call. Rosa left, thinking nothing of it. But Margaret was in the hallway, had heard everything. "You're very attentive to Mr. Sterling," Margaret said. Rosa's stomach twisted. The way she said it like an accusation, not a compliment. "I just do my job, ma'am." "Of course you do." Margaret's smile was cold. "Very thoroughly." That evening, Rosa was walking past the sitting room with laundry when she heard them talking. The door was cracked. She shouldn't have stopped. But she heard her name. "That girl is always hovering around Alexander," Margaret said. Rosa froze. "Rosa? She's just doing her job, Mother." "Is she?" Margaret's voice dripped poison. "Think about it, Catherine. She's here when he wakes up, brings him coffee, organizes his personal papers, knows his schedule better than you do. Don't you find that intimate?" Silence. Rosa's heart pounded. "I never thought about it that way," Catherine said slowly. "Maybe you should." Rosa forced herself to keep walking. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped the basket. What had just happened? She'd been accused of something without being accused of anything. Margaret had planted a seed, and Rosa could feel it taking root. The next day, Catherine came into the kitchen while Rosa prepared lunch. "Rosa, how long have you worked for us?" "2 years, Mrs. Sterling. And you're 28? "Yes, ma'am." Catherine studied her, really looked at her for the first time in months. Rosa felt exposed. "You're not married?" "No, ma'am." "Boyfriend?" Rosa's throat tightened. "No, ma'am. I work most of the time. Send money home to my family." "Of course you do." Catherine's tone had changed. Cool where it used to be polite, suspicious where it used to be indifferent. "You're very dedicated to your work." "I try to be. Maybe too dedicated." The words hit like a slap. That's when it started getting worse. Margaret began appearing wherever Rosa was. Study, laundry room, kitchen, always watching, always there. "You spend a lot of time in Mr. Sterling's office," Margaret commented one afternoon. "I clean it every Tuesday and Friday, ma'am." Same schedule for 2 years. "Do you also read his papers while you're there?" Rosa's head snapped up. "No, ma'am. I would never." "I'm not accusing you, just asking." But Margaret's eyes said she was absolutely accusing. The questions kept coming. Casual, pointed, poison wrapped in politeness. "You're always making sure he has what he needs. It's almost like you're trying to make yourself indispensable." Rosa started second-guessing everything. Should she stop organizing Alexander's desk? But that was her job. Should she stop bringing coffee? She'd done it for 2 years without problem. What was she supposed to do? Work badly? Be incompetent? Then Margaret started timing her. Following her routine, one morning Rosa came downstairs at 5:30 to start breakfast. Margaret was already there, fully dressed, sipping tea. "You're up early," Margaret said. "I always start at this time, ma'am." "Always? Every day?" "Yes, ma'am." "And Mr. Sterling comes down around 6? Rosa's stomach dropped. "Yes, ma'am, for his coffee." "How convenient that you're always here when he arrives." "Alone. Before anyone else is awake." "I'm preparing breakfast." "Of course you are." Margaret's smile was razor-sharp. "I'm sure that's all you're doing." Rosa felt sick. Margaret was twisting everything, taking her work routine, the same routine for 2 years, and making it sound sinister. That afternoon, Rosa found Margaret in her room. Her private room, above the garage, Mrs. Hayes? Rosa stood in the doorway, shocked. Can I help you? Looking for extra linens. Thought they might be stored here. They're in the main house, ma'am. The hallway closet. Oh, my mistake. Margaret looked around Rosa's tiny space, at the small bed, the framed photo of Rosa's family, the Bible from her grandmother. Margaret picked up the photo. Your family? Yes, ma'am. They must miss you. I miss them too. Do you send them money? Rosa's guard went up. Yes, ma'am. When I can. Must be quite a bit. Saving to bring them here? I haven't thought that far ahead. Haven't you? Margaret set the photo down. A young woman alone in a foreign country, working in a wealthy household. It would be natural to want more. To want to improve your situation. Rosa's hands clenched. I'm grateful for this job. I don't want more than what I have. Everyone wants more, Rosa. It's human nature. Margaret moved toward the door. Just make sure your ambitions stay appropriate. After she left, Rosa sat on her bed and cried quiet tears she quickly wiped away. Something had shifted. Margaret wasn't just suspicious. She was building a narrative, and Rosa was trapped in it. The accusations became more frequent. Rosa was in Alexander's office again today. Margaret would mention at dinner. Rosa heard it from the hallway. She organized his files. Catherine would respond. But uncertain now. Did he ask her to? Silence. I'm just saying it seems very personal. The way she manages his space, like a wife would. Rosa started avoiding Alexander's office, even though cleaning it was part of her job. Even though he'd asked multiple times where certain files were. Is everything okay, Rosa? Alexander asked one morning. You seem different. Everything's fine, sir. But nothing was fine. Rosa stopped eating lunch with other staff. Margaret had started eating in the kitchen too, sitting there, watching, listening to every conversation. What's going on with Mrs. Hayes? Maria whispered one day. She's always watching you. I don't know, Rosa admitted, but she did know. She was being hunted, slowly, methodically. Margaret was waiting for Rosa to make a mistake. Any mistake. Rosa became hyper-careful. Double-checked everything, made sure she was never alone with Alexander, kept her head down even more. It didn't matter, because Margaret wasn't waiting for Rosa to make a mistake. Margaret was going to create one. Small things started going missing. Catherine's favorite pen, a book from Alexander's office. Nothing major. But Margaret made it major. Has anyone seen my daughter's fountain pen? Very expensive, very sentimental. Rosa hadn't seen it, neither had other staff. I do hope it turns up. The pen never did. But the implication hung in the air. Then Catherine's bracelet went missing. I left it on the bathroom counter, Catherine said. Now it's gone. Margaret's eyes went straight to Rosa. When did you last clean Mrs. Sterling's bathroom? This morning, ma'am. The bracelet wasn't there. Are you certain? Rosa's mouth went dry. Yes, ma'am. The bracelet turned up 2 days later, in Catherine's jewelry box, where it had apparently been all along. No one apologized to Rosa. Instead, Margaret smiled. Thank goodness it wasn't stolen. We would have hated to accuse someone innocent. The message was clear. Margaret could create suspicion any time she wanted, could make Rosa look guilty without any evidence. And there was nothing Rosa could do. Rosa started having nightmares. Dreams of being accused of theft, police coming, deportation, never seeing her family again. She'd wake in cold sweats, heart racing. But the nightmares were nothing compared to what was coming. Because Rosa could feel it building, the tension, the accusations, the trap closing around her. Now, kneeling on the marble floor for the 5th time, scrubbing until her hands bled, Rosa finally understood the truth. Doing her job well had become a crime. Being good at her work had made her a target. And everything she'd worked for, everything she'd sacrificed for, was about to be destroyed. Margaret appeared in the doorway again, watching Rosa scrub. When you're done here, I need you to re-iron all of Mr. Sterling's shirts. I found wrinkles. There were no wrinkles. Rosa had pressed those shirts perfectly yesterday. Yes, ma'am, Rosa whispered. And Rosa? Margaret's voice dropped low. Remember your place. You're the help. Nothing more. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. After Margaret left, Rosa sat back on her heels, staring at the spotless floor she'd scrubbed raw. She'd done nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. But somehow, that was the problem. And it was about to get so much worse. The accusations became more frequent, more pointed. Rosa was in Alexander's office again today. Margaret would mention at dinner. Rosa would hear it from the hallway. She organized his files, Catherine would respond, but her voice was uncertain now. Did he ask her to? Silence. I'm just saying it seems very personal. The way she manages his space, like a wife would. Rosa started avoiding Alexander's office, even though cleaning it was part of her job. Even though he'd asked her multiple times where certain files were, and she'd had to say she didn't know because she hadn't been organizing them. Is everything okay, Rosa? Alexander asked one morning. You seem different lately. Everything's fine, sir. But it wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. Rosa stopped eating lunch with the other staff, because Margaret had started eating in the kitchen too. Sitting there, watching, listening to every conversation, the other workers felt it too. What's going on with Mrs. Hayes? Maria whispered one day. She's always around now, always watching you. I don't know, Rosa admitted, but she did know. She was being hunted, slowly, methodically. Margaret was waiting for Rosa to make a mistake, any mistake, so she could pounce. Rosa became hyper-careful, double-checked everything, made sure she was never alone with Alexander, kept her head down even more than before. It didn't matter, because Margaret wasn't waiting for Rosa to make a mistake. Margaret was going to create one. It started with small things going missing. Catherine's favorite pen, a book from Alexander's office, nothing major. Nothing anyone would make a big deal about, but Margaret made a big deal about it. Has anyone seen my daughter's fountain pen? The one her father gave her? Rosa hadn't. Neither had any other staff. It's very expensive, very sentimental. I do hope it turns up. The pen never turned up, but the implication hung in the air like smoke. Then Catherine's bracelet went missing. I left it on the bathroom counter, Catherine said. Now it's gone. Margaret's eyes went straight to Rosa. When did you last clean Mrs. Sterling's bathroom? This morning, ma'am. The bracelet wasn't there. Are you certain? Rosa's mouth went dry. Yes, ma'am. Margaret's expression said she didn't believe Rosa at all. The bracelet turned up 2 days later, in Catherine's jewelry box, where it apparently had been the whole time, but no one apologized to Rosa. No one said, sorry, we suspected you. Instead, Margaret just smiled. Thank goodness it wasn't stolen. We would have hated to accuse someone innocent. The message was clear. Margaret was showing Rosa that she could create suspicion anytime she wanted, could make Rosa look guilty without any evidence at all. And there was nothing Rosa could do about it. Rosa started having nightmares. She'd dream about being accused of theft, about police coming, about being deported, about never seeing her family again. She'd wake up in cold sweats, her heart racing, and have to remind herself it was just a dream. But it didn't feel like just a dream. It felt like a premonition. Because Rosa could feel it building, the tension, the accusations, the trap closing around her. She just didn't know when it would spring shut, or how bad it would be when it did. All Rosa knew was that doing her job well had somehow become a crime, that being good at her work had made her a target, that everything she'd worked for, everything she'd sacrificed for, was about to be destroyed. And the worst part? She'd done absolutely nothing wrong. 3 weeks after Margaret's campaign of suspicion began, everything changed at a Thursday dinner party. Catherine was hosting 12 guests. Important people, Alexander's business partners, and their wives. The kind of evening where everything had to be perfect. Rosa had spent all day preparing. The dining room gleamed. The food was impeccable. Every detail was exactly right. She was serving the main course when it happened. Catherine was laughing at something a guest said. Mid-laugh, she started choking. Her hand went to her throat. Her face turned red, then purple. Everyone froze. Panic spread across the table like wildfire. Rosa didn't think. She dropped the serving dish and ran. Her hands knew what to do. The Heimlich maneuver she'd learned from a first aid video. 3 compressions, quick, firm. Whatever was blocking Catherine's airway flew out. Catherine gasped, sucking in air, tears streaming down her face. The room erupted. People were clapping. Alexander was thanking Rosa, his voice shaking. Catherine grabbed Rosa's hand, squeezing it. You saved my life, Catherine whispered. Thank you. Thank you so much. Rosa felt good that night, like maybe she'd done something that mattered, like maybe all the suspicion would finally stop. She went to bed thinking things might get better. She was so wrong. The next morning, Margaret was waiting in the kitchen when Rosa came down to start breakfast. That was quite a performance last night, Margaret said. Rosa stopped. I'm sorry? rushing in like that, playing the hero, very dramatic. The words were like ice water. Mrs. Sterling was choking. I was trying to help. Were you? Margaret stepped closer, her voice dropping low. Dangerous. Or were you making sure everyone saw you? Making sure Alexander saw how valuable you are? How indispensable? Rosa couldn't breathe. She was dying. Was she? Or did you position yourself perfectly for that moment? Right there with the food. Right there when she needed saving. Some might call that convenient. That's insane. Is it? Margaret's smile was cruel. A maid saves the lady of the house in front of a room full of important people. Now the husband owes her a debt of gratitude. Now she's not just the help, she's the woman who saved his wife's life. Very clever, Rosa. Very calculated. Rosa felt tears burning behind her eyes. I would never. Of course you wouldn't. Margaret's voice dripped with false sympathy. But you can see how it looks. Can't you? That afternoon, Rosa overheard Margaret and Catherine talking in the sitting room. I know she helped you, darling, but doesn't it seem a bit staged? Mother, she saved my life. Did she? Or did she create a situation where she could be the hero? Margaret's voice was poison, honey. Think about it. She was right there, right at the perfect moment, with the perfect solution. Doesn't that seem a little too perfect? I don't know. Maybe? And now Alexander can't stop talking about her. Can't stop thanking her. She's elevated herself, Catherine. She's no longer just the maid. She's the woman who saved you, the woman your husband is grateful to, the woman who's now even more present in his life. There was a long, terrible silence. I never thought about it that way, Catherine finally said. A maid who saves your life isn't grateful for the job you gave her. She thinks she's earned something. She thinks she has power now. Rosa backed away from the door, her whole body shaking. She'd saved Catherine's life. Actually saved it. And somehow, that had made everything worse. That evening, Catherine came to find Rosa in the laundry room. Rosa, we need to talk. Rosa turned, hopeful. Maybe Catherine would thank her again. Maybe she'd tell her to ignore Margaret. I appreciate what you did last night, Catherine said. Her voice was cold, formal. But I think we need to set some boundaries. Rosa's heart sank. Boundaries? You've been getting very involved with the family, very present, always right there when Alexander needs something, always managing things that perhaps aren't your responsibility. I'm just doing my job. Are you? Or are you trying to make yourself seem more important than you are? Catherine's eyes were hard. You're the housekeeper, Rosa. Not family, not a friend. The help. I need you to remember that. Rosa felt something crack inside her chest. I saved your life, she whispered, and I said, thank you. But that doesn't change your position here. That doesn't make you special. Catherine turned to leave, then paused. Margaret is right. You've been overstepping. It needs to stop. After Catherine left, Rosa slid down the wall and sat on the laundry room floor. She'd done the right thing. Saved a life. And somehow, that had become evidence against her. The next week, Margaret started making comments in front of the other staff. Rosa seems to think she's earned special privileges, saving Catherine's life and all. The other workers looked uncomfortable, started avoiding Rosa's eyes. I heard she goes into Alexander's office unsupervised, touches his personal papers. Maria stopped eating lunch with Rosa. Carlos stopped joking with her. James looked away when she passed. Rosa was being isolated, slowly, deliberately. And the worst part? She finally understood Margaret's plan. Margaret wasn't trying to get Rosa fired for being bad at her job. She was going to get Rosa fired for being too good at it. The kitchen supplies started moving on a Monday. Rosa opened the cabinet where the flour was always kept, found sugar instead. The sugar was where the salt should be. Everything was mixed up, disorganized. Rosa! Catherine's voice cut through the house like a blade. Come here right now. Rosa found Catherine in the dining room, holding up a serving dish. Why was this in the pantry? I don't know, ma'am. I always put the china in the cabinet. Apparently not anymore. Catherine set the dish down hard. You're becoming sloppy, disorganized. Your mind is clearly on other things. Rosa wanted to say someone had obviously moved everything. But what was the point? The next day, it was the laundry. Catherine's favorite designer dress came back with a tear in the sleeve. Margaret held it up like evidence at a trial. This dress cost $8,000, Rosa. I hand-washed it myself. It was perfect when I hung it up. Are you calling me a liar? Margaret's voice went sharp as glass. No, ma'am. Because that's what it sounds like. You're saying you did nothing wrong and I'm making this up. Rosa's throat closed. The dress had been fine. She knew it had been fine. Someone tore it after she'd washed it, but she couldn't prove it. That afternoon, Margaret entered Rosa's room without knocking. We need to search your space. Rosa stood up from her bed. Search for what? Missing items. Several things have gone missing from the house. I haven't taken anything. Then you won't mind us looking. Margaret went through everything. Rosa's drawers, her closet. Under her bed, she opened Rosa's small jewelry box. Inside was a simple cross necklace and her grandmother's wedding ring. Margaret held up the ring to the light, examining it. Where did you get this? It was my grandmother's. She gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Can you prove that? Rosa felt sick. It's my family's. Until you can provide documentation, I'll hold on to this. Margaret pocketed the ring. You can't take my things. I can if there's suspicion of theft. Margaret's smile was poison. Be grateful I'm not calling the police. After she left, Rosa sat on her bed and cried. They were building a case against her, piece by piece, lie by lie. The other staff started avoiding her completely. Margaret had made it clear anyone friendly with Rosa would face consequences. Rosa tried talking to Maria in the hallway. Did I do something to upset you? Maria looked terrified. Mrs. Hayes said we're not supposed to talk to you. She said you're under investigation. Investigation for what? I didn't do anything. But Maria was already walking away. Rosa was alone now. Completely alone in a house full of people. She tried calling her mother using the house phone. The line disconnected mid-conversation. She tried again the next day. Same thing. When Rosa wrote letters home, they never arrived. Her mother called the house once, frantic with worry. Catherine answered, Rosa is busy. She'll call you back. Rosa never got the message. The isolation was suffocating. Rosa would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything had fallen apart so fast. She'd worked hard, stayed respectful, saved Catherine's life. And somehow that had made everything worse. One morning, Alexander came into the kitchen. It was the first time they'd been alone in weeks. Rosa, Catherine tells me you've been having difficulties. Problems with your work. Rosa's throat tightened. Sir, I promise, I'm doing my best. I'm sure you are. But Catherine is worried. She thinks maybe the job is too much for you. It's not too much. I love this job. My family depends on it. I understand. But his tone said he didn't. Just try to be more careful. He left before Rosa could explain. Before she could tell him what was really happening, that's when Rosa realized the terrible truth. Alexander wasn't going to help her. He trusted his wife, trusted his mother-in-law. Rosa was just the help. That evening, Rosa was picking up dishes. Catherine had accidentally knocked off the table. Catherine leaned down close to Rosa's ear. A maid should know her place, she whispered. The floor is where you belong. Rosa's hands shook as she gathered the broken pieces. She didn't know how much more of this she could take. Rosa stopped sleeping. She'd lie in bed, listening to every sound, wondering what fresh horror tomorrow would bring. Friday morning, Margaret burst into her room before dawn. Get up. Catherine's jewelry is missing. Rosa sat up, her heart pounding. What? Her diamond necklace, the sapphire earrings, all of it, gone. 20 minutes later, Rosa stood in Catherine's bedroom in her nightclothes, while Margaret and Catherine searched her room. When Margaret came back, she was holding a small velvet bag Rosa had never seen before. Margaret poured the contents onto the dresser. Diamonds, sapphires, gleaming in the morning light. Found them under her mattress. Rosa felt the world tilt. No, I didn't. Those aren't mine. Liar! Catherine's face was red, tears streaming. After everything we've done for you, someone put them there. Please, you have to believe me. Alexander appeared, still in his running clothes. What's going on? Rosa stole my jewelry, Catherine sobbed. I didn't. Rosa turned to Alexander, desperate. Sir, please, I would never steal from you. I've worked honestly for 2 years. 2 years of planning, Margaret cut in. 2 years of gaining our trust. Check the security cameras, Rosa begged. Please, they'll show I never went into Mrs. Sterling's room. The cameras have been malfunctioning, Margaret said smoothly. Of course they had. Alexander rubbed his face. He looked tired. So tired. Rosa, I can't have someone in my home I can't trust. You can trust me. The evidence says otherwise. His voice was final. I want you out, today. The words hit like bullets. Mr. Sterling, please my family, I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you stole from us. I didn't steal anything. They put those in my room. This is all a setup. Enough. Alexander's voice cut through her protests. 30 minutes. Pack your things. Margaret will supervise. Rosa looked at the faces around her. No one was going to help. Margaret followed Rosa back to her room, watching as Rosa threw her few belongings into a bag. When Rosa reached for the framed photo of her family, Margaret snatched it. That frame belongs to the house. Rosa took out the photo with shaking hands, left the frame. She packed her clothes, her mother's letters, her grandmother's Bible. Everything else was already gone. Her ring, her money, her dignity. 28 minutes later, Rosa stood at the front door with one small bag. Catherine was waiting. You should have known better. A maid is just a maid. You could never be anything more. The door closed behind Rosa with a final click. She stood on the driveway where she'd arrived 2 years ago, full of hope. Now she had nothing. No money, no phone, no way home. Rosa started walking. She didn't know where, just away. The city was cold and huge. The shelter was full. Churches were locked. Rosa spent the first night on a park bench, clutching her bag, jumping at every sound. The second night was worse. Rain fell, and Rosa huddled under a highway overpass with strangers who wouldn't look at her. She hadn't eaten since Thursday. 2 days. Her stomach stopped hurting and started feeling hollow. She drank from public fountains, washed her face in gas station bathrooms, until someone told her to leave. By Sunday, Rosa couldn't remember why she was walking. Her legs just moved, one foot in front of the other. She found herself near the Sterling estate, not on purpose. Just pulled there somehow. The sky opened up. Rain poured down in sheets. Rosa made it to the old oak tree before her legs gave out. She lay down in the wet grass and felt nothing. No anger, no hope, just empty. I only wanted to do good work, she whispered. Inside the mansion, Catherine and Margaret raised their wine glasses. To taking out the trash, Margaret said. They didn't see the headlights turning into the driveway. They didn't know everything was about to change. Alexander's car cut through the rain. 3 days in Boston. The merger was done. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he just felt exhausted. The house looked dark except for the sitting room. He could slip upstairs, shower, sleep, but something made him look toward the property line. A shape near the old oak tree. An animal, maybe. Then the lights shifted. A woman, lying in the grass, not moving. Alexander was running before he decided to. The rain hammered down. His shoes slipped in mud. When he got close enough to see her face, his heart stopped. Rosa, oh God! He dropped to his knees. Rosa, can you hear me? Her skin was ice cold. Her lips blue. Her eyes were open but empty. Rosa, what happened? Her eyes focused slowly. Recognition, then tears. Mr. Sterling, she whispered. I only wanted to do my job well. Why aren't you in the house? But even as he asked, Alexander didn't know. He'd been gone 3 days. They said being good at my work meant I wanted to steal you. Her whole body shook. They took everything from me. Something cold slithered down Alexander's spine. My money, my phone, my grandmother's ring. Then they put jewelry in my room and said I stole it. You told me to leave. Friday morning, you said you couldn't trust me. Alexander's mind reeled. Friday morning, he'd come home early, some commotion, Catherine crying. His mother-in-law is holding something, Rosa protested. Had he told her to leave? Oh God, he had. Where have you been since Friday? Park bench. Under the highway. I haven't eaten since Thursday. Her eyes unfocused. I tried to find work but no references. No money. They froze my accounts. Alexander felt like he'd been punched. They froze your wages? I just wanted to send money to my mother. She's sick, but I couldn't access my account. Then they found the jewelry, but I didn't take it, I swear. How long have you been lying here? I don't know. The rain started and I couldn't walk anymore. Alexander looked at her. Really looked. Her hollow cheeks, her sunken eyes. She'd lost so much weight in 3 days. This wasn't someone who'd been fired and went home. This was someone who'd been thrown out to die. I'm taking you to the hospital. I can't pay. I don't care. He lifted her. She weighed nothing. Rosa's eyes fluttered closed. I saved your wife's life, and she destroyed mine. Those words echoed in Alexander's head as he drove, as doctors rushed around her, as they hooked up IVs and checked vitals. severe dehydration, malnutrition, hypothermia, early shock, a doctor said. How long without food and shelter? 3 days. The doctor's face darkened. Another night outside might have killed her. They admitted Rosa immediately. Alexander sat in her room as she drifted in and out. Around midnight, Rosa woke. The IV had helped. Her eyes were clearer. You're still here? I'm not going anywhere. Rosa, I need you to tell me everything, and I promise I'll listen this time. So she told him. All of it. Margaret planting suspicion after Rosa saved Catherine. The accusations, the sabotage, the searches, her frozen accounts, the planted jewelry, Catherine whispering, a maid should know her place. With each word, Alexander felt sicker. Why didn't you come to me? I tried. Catherine blocked my calls, intercepted messages. When you were home, she made sure we were never alone. And when we did talk, you believed her. She was your wife. I was just the maid. Alexander stood, hands shaking. I need to make calls. He called hospital security. Get me copies of her medical reports. All of them. He called his IT head. Pull all security footage from my house. 3 months. Everything. Tonight. He called his lawyer. I need you to investigate employee abuse and prepare divorce papers. When he finished, Rosa was watching him. You believe me, she whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you sooner. I failed you. You were my responsibility. And I let this happen. You didn't know. I should have known. He took a breath. But I see it now. And what happened to you will not go unanswered. By sunrise, Alexander had watched 3 months of footage. Margaret planted jewelry in Rosa's room. Catherine knocking dishes off the table, then berating Rosa. Both women searched for Rosa's belongings. Catherine tearing her own dress. His wife and mother-in-law systematically destroying a human being. The other staff confirmed everything when he asked. With Rosa gone, they finally told the truth. We needed our jobs. Sir, Maria said, crying. Alexander didn't blame them. He blamed himself. At 7 a.m., he drove home. Catherine and Margaret were having coffee. Relaxed. Happy. Alexander, you're home early. Where is she? Catherine stopped. Where is who? Rosa Martinez, the woman I found dying in the rain last night. The color drained from Catherine's face. I've seen the security footage. All of it. Silence. You planted the jewelry. You tore your own clothes. You froze her accounts illegally. You drove her out with nothing and left her to die. She was trying to steal you. Catherine's facade cracked. Always perfect, always there. So you tortured her? You tortured a woman for being good at her job? She needed to know her place. Margaret stood defiant. Her place was doing the work we hired her for. Alexander pulled out his phone, played the footage. Catherine's voice on screen. A maid should know her place. The floor is where you belong. Catherine went pale. Pack your things, both of you, tonight. You can't throw me out. Check our prenuptial agreement. Section 12. Abuse of household staff is grounds for forfeiture. Alexander, please. You nearly killed her. One more night and she would have died. Because you were insecure. Because you felt threatened. Margaret tried again. She was just a maid. She was a person, under my roof, who deserved protection. Alexander's voice went quiet, deadly. I will never forgive myself, and I will never forgive you. He looked at Catherine. Nothing left in his eyes. My lawyers will contact you. You're lucky Rosa hasn't pressed charges yet. What you did could qualify as attempted murder. You're choosing a maid over your wife? No, I'm choosing a good person over a cruel one. There's a difference. By noon, they were gone. Alexander returned to the hospital with Rosa's unfrozen accounts, her grandmother's ring, and 6 months of back pay. You don't have to do this, Rosa said. Yes, I do. But money wasn't enough. They both knew it. The damage went deeper than finances. It went down to the soul. Rosa spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Her body recovered quickly. Her spirit was another story. She's not eating unless we remind her, the nurse told Alexander. She jumps when people enter. She apologizes for existing. Alexander sat beside her bed. Rosa, you don't have to apologize for being here. I'm costing you money. I don't care about the money. You should. Rosa looked at her hands. Your wife was right. I should have known my place. No, Catherine was wrong. You were exactly what we needed. They punished you for it because it exposed their emptiness. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to trust that. Then I'll prove it. however long it takes. The story leaked. A nurse mentioned it. Within a week, society pages were buzzing. Billionaire divorces wife after discovering employee abuse. Other families came forward, other former employees. A nanny Catherine had fired, a gardener who quit after racist comments, a cook who left after impossible demands. The pattern was clear. This wasn't about Rosa. This was about Catherine and Margaret being cruel to anyone beneath them. Catherine released a statement claiming she was the victim. But the security footage was damning. News outlets obtained copies. The public saw Catherine tearing her own dress, Margaret planting jewelry. The verdict was swift. Margaret and Catherine became pariahs. Their social circle evaporated. Charities removed their names. The country club revoked memberships. Catherine's friends now crossed the street to avoid her. Rosa watched the news from her hospital bed with conflicted emotions. "I didn't want this," she told Alexander. "I never wanted to destroy anyone. You didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. You just survived long enough for truth to come out." On Rosa's last day in the hospital, Alexander brought news. "Several families want to hire you, all with proper contracts and protections." Rosa was quiet. "I don't know if I can work in someone's home again." "Trust that they won't." "I understand. Which is why I have another proposal." He handed her a folder. "The Sterling Foundation is creating a division for workers' rights, protecting domestic employees from abuse. We need someone who understands the issues firsthand." Rosa opened it. Director of Employee Advocacy. A salary that made her eyes widen. Full benefits. At the bottom, a note in Alexander's handwriting. "You deserve protection under my roof. I failed you. Let me help you protect others. I'm not qualified. I'm just a maid." "You're not just anything. You're someone who survived cruelty with dignity. Someone who understands what vulnerable workers face. That makes you more qualified than anyone." Rosa's hands trembled. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I saw you in the rain and realized I'd been blind. Because you saved my wife's life and she tried to destroy yours. Because you deserve better." His voice caught. "I can't undo what happened, but I can make sure it doesn't happen to someone else." Rosa looked at him for a long moment. "I need time to think." "Take all the time you need." 2 weeks later, Rosa moved into a small apartment the foundation helped secure. 1 bedroom, windows overlooking a park. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. Her mother called when Rosa's account was restored. "Mija, what happened? We hadn't heard from you." "Something terrible happened, Mama." Rosa told her everything. Silence. Then her mother spoke, voice like steel. "You take that job, Rosa. Make sure no other mother's daughter goes through what you did." "Yes, Mama." "And this man, Alexander, is he good?" Rosa thought about the daily hospital visits, him firing his wife without hesitation, the way he listened without defending or excusing. "He was blind, Mama, but when he saw, he didn't look away." "Then maybe there is hope." Rosa took the job. Her first act was creating a confidential hotline for domestic workers. Her second was drafting legislation requiring written contracts with protections. She spoke at conferences, testified before city council, met survivors who cried hearing her story because it was theirs too. "You're giving voice to people who've been silent for years," one woman said. Rosa was finding her purpose, but something was still broken inside. She attended therapy twice a week. "Trauma doesn't heal on a schedule," her therapist said. "You're allowed to still hurt, still be angry, still be scared. I just want to feel normal." What if normal isn't the goal? What if the goal is to build something new, something stronger? Rosa thought about that a lot. 6 months after the rain, Alexander asked to meet at a quiet cafe. She almost said no. Part of her still associated him with the worst time of her life. But another part recognized he'd done more than apologize. He'd changed. "You look well," Alexander said. "Thank you, so do you." They ordered coffee, made small talk. Then Alexander took a breath. "Rosa, I need to tell you something. When I found you in the rain, I thought you needed rescuing. But I was wrong. You didn't need rescuing. You needed someone to witness the truth and acknowledge it." Rosa felt tears prick her eyes. "In 2 years, you showed more integrity than most people show in a lifetime. You saved my wife, despite her cruelty. You did excellent work, not for recognition, but because that's who you are. When everything was taken, you didn't become bitter. You survived. I don't feel like I did anything special. That's what makes it special." He leaned forward. "Rosa, I'm not the same man. You showed me what real character looks like, and I'm asking if you'd consider letting me court you properly. Not from guilt, but because I've come to see you, really see you. And what I see is someone remarkable. Rosa's heart stopped. I was your employee. You were married. This isn't appropriate. I know. Which is why I'm not asking you to decide now. Just asking if you'd be open to the possibility. When enough time has passed. When you've healed enough to trust again. Rosa stared at him. Mr. Sterling. Alexander, please. Alexander. I don't know if I can ever trust someone with power over me again. I understand. Which is why I'd never want power over you. Only partnership. Only equals. Her therapist's words echoed. What if the goal is to build something new? I need time, she said finally. Take all the time in the world. Rosa didn't make Alexander wait long. 3 months later, after careful thought and therapy and long talks with her mother, she agreed to dinner. Just dinner. Nothing more. They talked about work, Rosa's advocacy projects, Alexander's business. It was comfortable, easy. On the second dinner, Rosa asked what had been haunting her. Why didn't you see what Catherine was doing? The signs were there. Alexander was quiet. Because I didn't want to see. Catherine and our marriage was convenient. Expected. I thought that's what partnership was. I didn't realize I'd married someone cruel until too late. And your mother-in-law, Margaret, enabled Catherine, or Catherine enabled her. Either way, they brought out the darkness. He met her eyes. I should have noticed. Should have questioned. Should have listened. That's my failure. I'll carry it forever. Rosa appreciated the honesty. No excuses. Just truth. On the 5th dinner, Alexander told her about his childhood. My father worked in an auto plant. My mother cleaned houses. We didn't have much, but what we had was earned honestly. My mother taught me to see people's character, not position. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. Married someone from my new social class without asking if she had the character to match. And me? Rosa asked softly. What do you see? I see someone who does good not for recognition, but because it's right. Someone who suffered injustice and chose to fight for others. Someone, he paused, someone I don't deserve, but someone I'd like to spend my life trying to be worthy of. Rosa's eyes filled. I was your maid. You were never just a maid. You were a good person in impossible circumstances. And if you'll let me, I want to make sure you never have to prove your worth again. The courtship was slow, careful. Rosa needed to know Alexander saw her as equal. He proved it in small ways, asking her opinion on foundation decisions, respecting when she said no because she needed time alone, never pressuring, never assuming. One evening, Rosa brought him to meet her mother via video call. So you are the man who employs my daughter, her mother said. I work with your daughter, Senora. Not over her. She's my partner. Her mother studied him through the screen. And you want to date my Rosa? If she'll have me, but only when she's ready, with your blessing. My blessing? Her mother laughed. My Rosa doesn't need my permission. But I'll tell you, you hurt her again, and you answered to me. I would never, you already did, by not seeing what happened in your own home. That's on you, Mr. Sterling. Alexander nodded. You're right, and I promise I'll never make that mistake again. Her mother was quiet, then smiled. Good answer. A year after the rain, Alexander proposed. Not in public, not with spectacle, but in Rosa's apartment on her couch, with takeout between them. I know this is fast. I know we have complicated history. But Rosa, I can't imagine my life without you. Not as my employee, not as my colleague, but as my partner, my equal, my wife. Rosa looked at the ring. Simple, elegant, nothing like Catherine's massive diamond. Your family will talk. Society will judge. They'll say I was the maid who seduced the billionaire. Let them talk. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's all that matters. Your mother would have been disappointed. My mother would have loved you. She understood real character. Rosa thought about everything she'd survived, everything she'd lost, everything she'd rebuilt. If I say yes, I need you to understand something. I'm not saying yes because you're wealthy or because you saved me. I'm saying yes because this past year, you've shown me who you really are, and I like that person. Is that a yes? Rosa smiled. For the first time in over a year, it reached her eyes completely. Yes. Rosa read every letter, answered as many as she could. Each one reminded her why the pain had been worth it. Catherine saw the news coverage from her small apartment in another state. She'd lost everything: her marriage, her wealth, her standing. She worked now as a receptionist at a dental office. Lived paycheck to paycheck. She watched Rosa on screen, confident, poised, respected, and felt something twist inside her chest. Margaret sat beside her, equally diminished. She was just a maid, Margaret muttered. No, Catherine said quietly. She was never just a maid. That was our mistake. For the first time in her life, Catherine understood what she'd destroyed. Not just Rosa's life, but her own. In trying to tear down someone else's goodness, she'd revealed her own emptiness. She'd lost everything protecting an image that was hollow from the start. I'm sorry, Catherine whispered to the TV screen, though Rosa couldn't hear her. It was 3 years too late. 5 years after the rain, Rosa stood in the Sterling Mansion's kitchen, her kitchen now preparing dinner. Not as a maid, as the lady of the house. Everything had changed. The staff now had contracts, benefits, protections. Rosa made sure of it. She knew their names, their families, their dreams. She treated them the way she wished she'd been treated. Mrs. Sterling? Maria, who still worked as a housekeeper, peeked in. Do you need help with dinner? No, thank you, Maria. But I'd love company if you have time. Maria came in, smiling. The fear that used to haunt the staff was gone now. I have to tell you something, Maria said quietly. Before, when Catherine and Margaret were here, I saw what they did to you. And I said nothing. I've carried that guilt for 5 years. Rosa stopped chopping vegetables. You had children to feed, a family to support. I understand. But you were suffering, and you were surviving. I can't blame you for that, Maria. The system that forced you to choose between speaking truth and keeping your job, that's what I blame. That's what we're fighting to change. Maria's eyes filled with tears. You're a good woman, Mrs. Sterling. I'm a woman who knows what it's like to be powerless. That's different. That evening, Alexander found Rosa in the library, staring at the old oak tree through the window. You visit that tree often, he observed. It reminds me where I came from, what I survived. Alexander stood beside her. Do you ever regret it? Marrying me? The complications it brought, Rosa thought carefully. People still whisper. Some say I seduced you, that I was the scheming maid after all, that Catherine and Margaret were right to suspect me. Does that bother you? It used to, but then I realized, let them talk. I know my truth. I know I did nothing but work hard and survive cruelty. Their narrative doesn't change reality. She turned to face Alexander. And no, I don't regret marrying you, because you didn't just apologize for failing me. You changed. You used your privilege to amplify voices like mine. You gave me partnership, not rescue. That's rare. That's real. Alexander took her hands. I found you broken under that tree, and I thought my wealth could fix you. But you didn't need fixing. You needed someone to witness your truth and believe it. Took me too long, but I got there eventually. Better late than not at all. They stood together in the fading light, two people who'd found each other through tragedy and built something beautiful from the ruins. 10 years after the rain, Rosa stood in front of the newly opened Sterling Center for Workers' Rights, a full building dedicated to advocacy, legal aid, counseling, and job placement for domestic workers. On the wall hung a plaque, in memory of all those who suffered in silence. Your voices matter. Your stories matter. You matter. Rosa placed her hand on the plaque, remembering the girl who'd lain in the rain a decade ago. So broken, so alone. Are you okay? Alexander asked quietly. I'm more than okay, Rosa smiled. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The center had helped over 2,000 workers in its first year alone. Women and men who'd been abused, cheated, threatened, who'd been told they were nothing, who'd been made to feel invisible. Rosa met with each one she could, listened to their stories, saw herself in their eyes. How did you survive it? One young woman asked. She was 19, had been working for a family that locked her in her room at night, controlled her phone, threatened to call immigration if she complained. Rosa took her hand. I survived because I held on to one truth: they could take everything from me, but they couldn't change who I was. My character wasn't defined by how they treated me. It was defined by how I chose to respond. But weren't you angry? Furious. Still sometimes. Rosa's voice was honest, real. But I learned something important. Anger can either destroy you or fuel you. I chose to let it fuel me. to build something that would protect others from what I went through. The young woman's eyes filled with tears. I feel so powerless. You're not powerless. You're here. You're speaking up. You're choosing to survive. That's not powerless. That's strength. That afternoon, Rosa gave a speech at a university. Students filled the auditorium. Young people studying social work, law, human rights. 10 years ago, I was dying under a tree in the rain, Rosa began. I'd been accused of crimes I didn't commit, stripped of everything I'd worked for, left with nothing. I thought that was the end of my story. She paused, looking at the sea of young faces. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Because sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're really worth. Sometimes you have to be broken completely to be rebuilt into someone stronger. A hand shot up. A young woman in the front row. Yes? How did you forgive? How did you move past the hate? Rosa was quiet for a moment. I didn't forgive because they deserved it. I forgave because I deserved peace. Carrying that hate was like drinking poison and hoping they'd die from it. I had to let it go for me, not for them. But they destroyed your life. They tried to destroy my life. There's a difference. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I built something beautiful from the ashes they left behind. That's not destruction. That's resurrection. The applause was thunderous. After the speech, an older woman waited to speak with Rosa. She looked to be in her 60s, hands weathered from years of work. Mrs. Sterling, I cleaned houses for 40 years. I experienced things similar to what you went through. But I never spoke up, never fought back. I just survived and stayed quiet. Rosa took her hands. You did what you had to do to survive. That's nothing to be ashamed of. But you fought. You changed things. I fought because I had someone who finally listened, because I had resources and support. You didn't have that, but you survived. That's heroic too. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. I needed to hear that. That evening, Rosa and Alexander returned home. The mansion that had once been the site of her greatest trauma was now filled with love and purpose. They paused at the old oak tree, as they often did. You wanted to cut this down once, Rosa reminded him. I thought it held too many bad memories, but it doesn't. It holds the memory of the night everything changed. The night I lost everything and found myself. The night you finally opened your eyes. She looked up at the branches. This tree is proof that even in our darkest moments, we're stronger than we know. Alexander pulled her close. I found you here broken and thought I was saving you, but you were saving yourself. You always were. We saved each other, Rosa corrected. You gave me the platform to speak. I showed you how to listen. That's partnership. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun set through the branches. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't come home that night? Alexander asked quietly. I try not to, but sometimes I think about it. I probably would have died under this tree. Catherine and Margaret would have lived their comfortable lives. Nothing would have changed. But I did come home. You did. And that changed everything. Rosa looked up at him. Not because you rescued me, but because you witnessed what happened and chose to believe me. Choose to investigate. Choose to stand with truth, even when it cost you everything. It didn't cost me everything. It freed me. Rosa smiled. It freed us both. Inside the house, they found a package waiting. Rosa opened it carefully. It was a book, a newly published memoir written by another survivor. The inscription read, To Rosa Sterling, who taught me that our stories matter. Thank you for giving me the courage to tell mine. Rosa felt tears prick her eyes. This was why. This was why the pain had been worth it. One voice had become 10, 10 had become hundreds, hundreds had become thousands. The silence was breaking. That night, as rain began to fall outside, Rosa stood at the window and watched the drops hit the glass. Alexander came up behind her. Does the rain still bother you? No. Rosa's voice was peaceful. It used to. For years I couldn't handle rainstorms. They brought back that night, the cold, the hunger, the feeling of giving up. And now? Now the rain reminds me that storms don't last forever. That even when you think you're drowning, morning eventually comes. That the rain that nearly killed me also washed away everything false, leaving only what was real. She turned to face him, her face illuminated by lightning. The rain changed everything, Alexander. It took away my old life, but it gave me my real life, my purpose, my voice, you. Alexander kissed her forehead. I love you. I love you too. Not because you saved me, but because you saw me, really saw me, and you chose to be worthy of what you saw. They stood together as the storm raged outside, safe and warm and home. Rosa thought about the girl who'd lain under that tree 10 years ago. The girl who'd whispered, "I only wanted to do good work," as consciousness faded. If she could go back and talk to that girl, what would she say? She'd say, "Hold on, just a little longer. I know you're tired. I know you're broken. I know you want to give up. But hold on, because your story isn't ending here. It's beginning here. This rain you're lying in, it's washing away everything that doesn't matter. The job you lost, the people who hurt you, the life you thought you wanted. It's washing it all away so something better can grow. You're going to survive this. And more than survive, you're going to transform it. You're going to take this pain and turn it into purpose, this suffering into strength, this silence into a voice that changes everything. They tried to destroy you for being good, but they didn't understand that goodness can't be destroyed. It can only be tested. And when it passes the test, it shines brighter than before. So hold on, Rosa. Morning is coming. Help is coming. Your future is coming. And it's more beautiful than you ever imagined. Rosa pulled away from the window, from the memories, and smiled. The rain had fallen, the darkness had come, but she had survived it all. And in surviving, she'd become exactly who she was always meant to be. Not a victim, not a maid, not someone defined by what was done to her, but a survivor, a fighter, a voice for the voiceless, a light in the darkness, a woman who'd been broken and rebuilt herself into something unbreakable. The rain had changed everything, and Rosa Martinez Sterling, no longer invisible, no longer powerless, no longer silent, was grateful for every drop. Rosa's story didn't end under that tree in the rain, and your story doesn't end with whatever pain you're facing right now. If this story moved you, if you saw yourself in Rosa's struggle, if you've ever been punished for being good, for working hard, for doing the right thing, I need you to know something. You matter. Your story matters. Your voice matters. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we're just getting started. There are more stories like Rosa's that need to be told, more voices that need to be heard, more people who need to know they're not alone. Drop a comment and tell me what part of Rosa's journey touched your heart the most. Was it her strength in the face of cruelty? Her choice to fight for others after surviving abuse? The moment Alexander finally saw the truth? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's fighting to be seen. Someone who's been told they're not enough or they're too much. Someone who needs to know that goodness, when tested, doesn't break, it transforms. And if you're facing something like what Rosa faced, if you're being mistreated, abused, or silenced, please reach out. Find help. Speak up. You deserve protection. You deserve dignity. You deserve justice. Your story isn't over. The rain doesn't last forever. Morning is coming. Subscribe, comment, share, be part of the change. Because every voice matters, including yours.